The alien warrior knelt in the frozen dirt, her breath a thin mist that rose and vanished into the cold air. The battlefield around her was silent now, just the hiss of cooling metal and the occasional groan of a dying machine. The wreckage of her ship still burned behind her, sending blue flames into the black Martian sky. Elias Ward, captain of the Earth Defense Outpost, stood a few yards away with his rifle raised. His finger hovered near the trigger, steady but hesitant. He had tracked the fallen craft after the explosion, expecting to find nothing but corpses. Instead, he'd found her, alive, injured, and on her knees. She lifted her head when she sensed him. Her eyes glowed faintly violet beneath a tangled fall of pale silver hair. Not monstrous, not reptilian or insectoid as the war reports had claimed, she was something else entirely. Almost human but sharper, sculpted from light and shadow, her skin catching the starlight like polished glass. "Don't kill me, human," she said, her voice trembling but steady enough to cut through the wind. "I'll warm your bed if you spare me." Elias froze. He had heard plenty of pleas from dying enemies before, but never one like that, never a tone so desperate or words so unexpected. For a moment neither moved. His breath fogged the air. Her shoulders trembled. Then his training kicked in. "Don't move," he barked. "Hands where I can see them," she obeyed, slowly raising her hands. They were bloodied but elegant, faintly glowing at the fingertips. Her movements were deliberate, careful. She knew what he could do if she made the wrong one. "Why are you here?" he demanded. "Your fleet's been driven out of this sector. What's your mission?" Her lips parted, but the sound that came out wasn't speech. It was a soft, musical hum that almost sounded like pain. Then she spoke again, words rasping through her throat. "I wasn't sent. I was running." Elias frowned. "Running from who?" Her gaze flicked upward toward the stars. "From them." He didn't lower his rifle. "You're them." A sad, almost human smile crossed her face. "Not anymore." The wind shifted, carrying the smell of burned ozone and blood. She looked close to collapse, one arm clutched to her side, silver blood seeping between her fingers. Still, even kneeling there, she had an aura of power, of restrained violence. If she had the strength to attack, she would have done it already. "Get up," he ordered. Slowly. She tried, but her knees gave out. Her head bowed low, her silver hair spilling forward. "Please," she whispered, voice breaking. "Don't finish me. I'll serve you if that's what it takes. My warmth will keep you alive in this cold." He didn't understand what she meant. "You'll what?" "It's what we do," she said softly. "The Ilarians. Our bodies radiate energy. We can share heat, life force. You're freezing out here. Your kind always is. Let me live, and I'll give you warmth enough to last through the night." Elias stared at her. She had to be delirious, talking about some alien survival ritual. Still, there was something raw in her tone, an emotion he hadn't heard from any of the invaders before. Fear. "I don't need your help," he muttered. "Then you'll freeze," she said, lifting her head just enough for their eyes to meet. "And so will I. But if you kill me now, you'll take my life and the heat in it into the soil, wasted." He gritted his teeth, lowering his rifle just an inch. He told himself it was only because she was unarmed, that killing her like this would be execution, not combat. "Who are you?" he asked. Her lips curved faintly. "Lyra." The name sounded like music, and it stuck in his chest. "All right, Lyra, you said you were running." "Why?" She hesitated, then looked away. "Because my people don't forgive weakness. I refused to burn a colony of civilians. My commander called it betrayal, so they shot me down. It was madness. An alien confessing, asking for mercy. Elias didn't know what to believe. He'd seen the ruins of cities leveled by their weapons. He'd seen his friends turn to ash. And yet, when he looked at her now, bleeding, shivering, broken, he couldn't see a monster, only someone who had lost everything. He raised the rifle again, though the motion felt wrong. "You expect me to believe that?" She looked up at him, eyes glowing faintly through the dark. "Believe whatever you want. Just don't make my last act a waste." "What do you mean?" She smiled faintly, a haunting, tired smile. "You'll see soon enough." The wind shifted again, colder now. Elias's breath came out in thick clouds. He realized how far he was from his outpost, how exposed they both were. The temperature on this side of the ridge could drop low enough to kill a man in an hour. She must have seen the doubt flicker across his face, because she whispered, "Take me with you." "Why should I?" "Because you're dying too, Captain." Her voice was soft, almost pitying. "You just don't feel it yet." He didn't answer, but he felt it, the creeping numbness in his fingers, the ache in his lungs. His suit's thermal regulator was damaged from the earlier blast. He hadn't noticed until now. He looked at her again. The glow beneath her skin had dimmed, but he could feel faint warmth radiating from her, even from a few feet away. Maybe she was telling the truth. "This is insane," he muttered under his breath. Lyra tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Insanity is refusing to survive when you still can." For a long moment neither spoke. Only the snow fell, softly covering the bodies of soldiers, human and alien alike. Then Elias lowered the rifle. "All right," he said finally, voice low. "You try anything at all, and I'll end you." "Understand?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Understood." He stepped forward, pulling the survival blanket from his pack and draping it over her shoulders. She flinched at the contact, her skin warm even through the fabric. For a heartbeat, he felt that warmth pulse through him, an energy that sank into his bones like fire. "What was that?" he demanded, stepping back. She looked up at him with eyes that shimmered faintly in the darkness. The beginning of what? Her smile returned, faint and enigmatic. "Of your mistake." Elias opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, a distant rumble echoed through the valley. He looked up sharply. In the distance, the horizon flickered with faint red light, patrol drones scanning for survivors. He grabbed her arm. "Move, we have to go before they find us." Lyra stumbled to her feet, her body trembling but light. "You're taking me with you?" He nodded curtly. "I didn't save your life just to hand you over." "Then you've already chosen your side," she whispered. "What?" But she didn't answer. She only followed him into the dark, the storm closing around them. And as they disappeared into the snow, the wreckage behind them finally collapsed in on itself, burying the last trace of what she had been. Neither of them saw the beacon still glowing faintly beneath the rubble, sending one final signal into the sky. "Lyra alive," Bond initiated. The storm rolled in by nightfall, sharp and merciless, turning the Martian plains into a white, shifting void. Elias guided Lyra through the blinding snow, her weight slung against his arm. Her body burned with an unnatural warmth that bled through her torn armor and into his sleeve, and he could feel her trembling, not just from cold, but from exhaustion. "Almost there," he muttered, his breath fogging up inside his helmet. The winds howled in response, drowning his words. The bunker entrance was just ahead, half buried beneath a dune of ice. He kicked the hatch open and half pulled, half carried her inside, slamming it shut behind them. The silence that followed was deafening. The bunker was small, made of metal and rockcrete, its air stale from disuse. The emergency lights flickered weakly, casting the room in a dull amber glow. Elias stripped off his helmet and gloves, his breath still shaky from the cold. Lyra collapsed to her knees near the heating unit, her silver skin dim and cracked where she had bled. "Don't move," he said, unstrapping his rifle. "If you try anything," she let out a weak laugh, her voice hoarse. "If I tried, I would fall over first." He frowned, scanning the room. He wasn't sure what to do with her now. His orders were clear, capture or kill any surviving alien combatant, but somehow, when she'd knelt before him, something inside him had broken. Maybe it was the way her voice had cracked, or maybe it was just that she'd looked too human in that moment, too desperate. He tossed her a thermal blanket. "Wrap that around yourself." She looked at it as if it were a puzzle. "It won't help," she murmured. "It's that or nothing," he said, crouching near the heater. Her eyes fluttered closed. "I told you before, human. My kind needs another body's heat to recover." He turned sharply. "That's not happening." She didn't argue. She just sank lower against the wall, her breathing slowing, her glow dimming even further, until it was barely visible. He stared at her for a while, debating whether she was bluffing. But she wasn't. She was dying, damn it. He cursed under his breath and grabbed another blanket, wrapping it tightly around her shoulders. Her skin was warm to the touch, unnaturally warm, but the heat was fading fast. She shivered, her teeth chattering softly. "You're really dying, aren't you?" he muttered. She managed a faint smile. "I told you. You humans never listen." He sat across from her, glaring at the fire, trying to ignore the gnawing guilt twisting in his gut. Outside, the wind screamed against the metal walls, like ghosts clawing to get in. "You said your people run on warmth," he said at last. "That true?" "Yes," she whispered. "Our bodies generate light and heat from our core. When that fades, we fade too." He looked down at his hands, flexing them. "And if I give you my warmth, it keeps you alive?" Her eyes fluttered open, weak but searching. "You'd have to hold me, skin to skin. Our energies would balance. But it's dangerous," he frowned. "Dangerous how?" "If we connect for too long, our life streams merge. You'd feel my thoughts, my pain. You'd be part of me," Elias scoffed. "Sounds like alien superstition." Her lips curved into a faint, tired smile. "That's what I thought about humans once." The silence stretched again, filled only by the hum of the heater. Elias glanced at the readout. Its power levels were dropping fast. If the storm didn't pass soon, they'd both freeze. He made his decision before he could think too much about it. "Move over," he said gruffly, taking off his jacket. Lyra blinked, confused. "You... Don't make me repeat myself." She hesitated, then shifted slightly as he sat beside her. Her skin glowed faintly in response to his proximity, the light spreading like ripples across the silver of her body. When he wrapped the blanket around them both, the warmth hit him immediately, a living electric heat that seemed to hum beneath his skin. It wasn't just warmth. It was alive. Her breathing steadied. Her trembling stopped. The faint light from her veins grew stronger, painting the walls with pale violet hues. Elias stared, mesmerized despite himself. "I told you," she murmured, eyes half closed. "You'd regret it." "I'm regretting a lot of things lately," he said quietly. Her head tilted toward him. "You saved me. That's not something to regret," he snorted. "My commanding officer would disagree." "Then your commander's a fool." He almost smiled at that, almost. Minutes passed. The storm howled outside, but the small space between them felt strangely calm. Lyra's skin was soft, too soft for a warrior, and the faint luminescence under her surface pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. "Why were you running?" he asked, her expression darkened. "My people wanted to erase yours. I refused to obey." "That's treason." "Yes," she whispered. "And mercy, in my world, is a crime." He studied her face for a long time. "Then you're as good as dead if they find you." "Perhaps. But you'll be dead long before me if we stay out here." Her tone was almost playful, and he couldn't help but shake his head. "You really think you've got me figured out, don't you?" She looked at him then, really looked at him. "You're not a killer. Not anymore." That made him freeze. "How do you know that?" "I can feel it," she said softly. "When you touched me, I felt your heart. It's full of ghosts." He turned away sharply. "You're imagining things." She smiled faintly, eyes closing again. "Maybe, or maybe that's what happens when two souls share warmth." He didn't respond. He couldn't. Hours passed, the storm unrelenting. He stayed awake, his body stiff from sitting so close, his mind whirling with thoughts he couldn't shake. When he finally looked down, Lyra was asleep, her face peaceful for the first time since he'd met her. Her head rested lightly against his shoulder. He wanted to hate her, to remember she was the enemy. But all he could see was someone broken, like him, someone just trying to survive a war neither of them had asked for. "Don't die," he murmured, surprising himself. She stirred faintly in her sleep, whispering something in her language, a melody of sounds that resonated faintly through the air. And then, softer in English, "You shouldn't have saved me." Elias frowned, glancing down at her. "Why's that?" But she didn't answer. She just breathed, slow and even, her body glowing faintly in rhythm with his pulse. The heater flickered once, then went dark. But somehow the room stayed warm. When he finally drifted into uneasy sleep, he didn't notice the faint patterns of light spreading across his chest, the same markings that glowed beneath her skin. Outside, beyond the storm, something in the distance stirred, listening, watching, and waiting for the signal that one of their own still lived. And the signal had already been sent. The storm broke just before dawn, leaving the world buried under a pale blanket of ice. Elias woke to silence, a strange, eerie silence that made his stomach twist. The heater had gone out completely, yet the air was still warm. Lyra's faint glow painted the bunker walls in soft violet light. She was sitting cross-legged beside him, eyes closed, her skin pulsing gently like starlight beneath water. He pushed himself upright, blinking away the sleep. "You're awake." She didn't open her eyes. "I haven't slept." Elias rubbed his face. "You could have fooled me. I was watching over you," she said softly. That made him stop. "Watching me?" She tilted her head slightly, eyes opening now. "You shared warmth. In my people's tradition, that means something. We are linked now, human. I feel your heartbeat even when you don't speak." He frowned, a flicker of unease crawling through his chest. "You're saying we're connected? Because of last night?" Lyra nodded slowly, as if it were the simplest truth in the universe. "Energy does not divide once joined, it flows. Between you and me now, there is a current." Elias looked away, unwilling to admit the strange truth of her words. He did feel different, lighter, his limbs humming faintly, a warmth beneath his skin that hadn't been there before. "So what does that mean?" he asked finally. "It means if one of us dies," Lyra said calmly, "the other follows." His heart stopped for a second. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking," she replied. "I tried to tell you before you chose to save me." He stared at her, unable to speak. Outside, the sun was a weak orange disk, barely visible through the frost-coated glass. "You're saying you bound us without asking me?" She met his gaze. "You didn't ask to touch my hand, human, yet you did. The bond is instinct. It reacts faster than thought. I didn't choose it any more than you did." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "This is insane. You're telling me I'm tied to some alien soldier who's supposed to be my enemy, and now if something happens to you, I die too." Lyra's voice softened. "Not if, when my people are coming." Elias froze mid-step. "What do you mean, coming?" She looked toward the ceiling, her pupils narrowing as if she could see through the rock. "They received the signal from my wreck. It carries my life signature. They will find me, and if they find you with me." He didn't need her to finish. Execution was the best-case scenario. The Earth Command wouldn't bother asking questions. "They'd bomb the entire area, then we have to move," he said, grabbing his pack. "Now!" Lyra stood, her movements graceful but heavy with exhaustion. "There is nowhere to go. Their ships can track the bond now that it's formed. You are as visible to them as I am." Elias froze again. "You mean they can sense me too?" "Yes," she whispered. "You carry my light now. It burns inside you." The absurdity of it should have made him laugh. Instead, it made his blood run cold. He checked his rifle. "Then we hide deeper in the ridge. There's an abandoned tunnel system from the old mining colonies. If we can reach it." Lyra's head turned sharply toward the door. Too late. He heard it then, the low hum of engines overhead. Not human. The sound vibrated through the ground, a pulsing rhythm that made the air shiver. The hair on his arms stood on end. "Stay here," he hissed, moving toward the hatch. "Elia, stay!" he snapped, more sharply than he meant. He pushed the hatch open an inch and peered outside. The sky was no longer empty. 3 sleek shapes hovered low, cutting through the thin atmosphere, black with silver edges, glowing faintly at the seams. They moved with unnatural precision, scanning the terrain. Elias ducked back inside, slamming the hatch shut. "They're sweeping the area." "You weren't lying." Lyra's expression was unreadable. "I never lie." "Then tell me how to stop them." "You can't," she said simply. "But you can make a choice." He glared at her. "What choice?" "To live as part of me, or die trying to stay human." Elias stared, unsure if she was threatening or warning him. Before he could answer, a sharp tone cut through the bunker, a communication ping from his base. He rushed to the console. "Captain Ward," a voice crackled through static, "your signal's been flagged. We picked up alien frequencies near your location. Status report immediately." He hesitated, staring at Lyra. Her eyes pleaded silently, but she didn't speak. The voice grew sharper. "Captain, respond!" Elias's hand hovered over the comm. One word, one acknowledgement, and they'd send extraction. They'd find her, interrogate her, kill her. And if what she said was true, he'd die too. He swallowed hard. "Control, this is Ward. False alarm." "Repeat, false alarm." "Just atmospheric interference. I'll recalibrate and check in within the hour." Static. Then silence. Lyra exhaled softly. "You just saved my life." Elias turned, jaw tight. "Don't thank me. I might still regret it." She looked at him with something like sadness. "You already don't." He wanted to argue, but the truth stuck in his throat. Instead, he grabbed his gear. "We're leaving before they realize I lied." Lyra nodded. "I can help cloak us, but I'll need contact again." He blinked. "Contact?" She stepped closer, her hand hovering just above his chest. "Physical. The connection strengthens if we touch." His pulse quickened. "You mean hold hands?" She smiled faintly. Humans are so innocent about such things. Before he could stop her, her palm pressed against his heart. Heat surged through him, bright, electric, and utterly alive. His vision blurred for a second, replaced by flashes not his own. A burning city of crystal towers, a fleet drifting through black space, and a memory of her kneeling before a council of light, her voice breaking as she said, "I will not burn them." He stumbled back, gasping. What was that?" Lyra's eyes glowed softly. "My memories. You saw them because you're bound. I can't hide from you, and you can't hide from me." Elias's breath came ragged. "Then you know what I'm thinking right now?" "I feel it," she admitted quietly. "Fear, confusion, but also trust." He didn't deny it. Couldn't. The hum outside grew louder. They both turned toward the sound. One of the ships was descending. A bright beam swept across the valley, cutting through snow and stone. Lyra's grip on his arm tightened. "If they catch us, they'll tear the bond apart to study it. You'll die screaming. Then we don't get caught," he said, grabbing his pack. They sprinted for the maintenance tunnel. The light followed them, brighter now, burning holes through the ground. The air grew thick with heat and dust. Elias threw himself forward, dragging Lyra down the narrow shaft. The beam passed inches behind them, melting the metal hatch shut. They collapsed in the dark, breathing hard. Elias reached for his rifle, hands shaking. "Tell me this bond of yours can do more than glow in the dark." Lyra met his eyes, her voice barely above a whisper. "It can keep you alive, but you won't like what it takes." "What does it take?" "Everything," she said. "And once it starts, there's no turning back." He stared at her, the heat of her hand still burning against his chest. Outside, the ships circled lower, the ground trembling beneath their power. Inside the tunnel, Elias realized that whatever he'd started when he saved her wasn't just an act of mercy anymore. It was the beginning of something neither human nor alien could ever undo. The tunnels stretched endlessly into darkness, their walls cold and slick with condensation. Every echo of their footsteps seemed too loud, bouncing back in waves that made Elias feel as though the entire world could hear them. Lyra walked ahead, her faint glow casting ripples of violet light that illuminated the old mining tracks beneath their boots. The air smelled faintly of rust and ancient dust, a place forgotten by both humans and the alien war. Elias's muscles burned from exhaustion, but he didn't dare stop. Somewhere above them, the alien ships still hummed through the thin Martian air, searching. He could feel their vibrations through the stone. Each one sent a tremor through his chest, a reminder of the invisible thread connecting him to the woman walking a few paces ahead. Finally, she slowed, resting a hand on the tunnel wall. "We should stop here," she said softly. "You're struggling." "I'm fine," he said automatically. Her eyes flickered back toward him. "Your heartbeat says otherwise." He wanted to argue, but she wasn't wrong. The link between them made lying impossible. She could feel everything, the exhaustion in his limbs, the pounding in his chest, even the twinge of anger he still carried toward her for binding them in the first place. He sank against the wall, sliding down until he was sitting on the cold ground. His breath fogged in the faint light. "So this is it, huh? We just keep running until they find us." Lyra knelt across from him. Not if I end the bond. His head snapped up. You said that would kill me. She nodded slowly. It would. But it would also stop them from tracking you. You'd have a chance to live, at least for a while. He stared at her, searching her face for deception, but there was none. Just quiet resignation. And what about you? They'd take me, she said. I'd be punished for treason. My kind doesn't allow mercy. He shook his head. That's not an option. She tilted her head, almost curious. Why not? You hardly know me, human, because I didn't save you just to watch you die. The air between them shifted, warmer now, charged with the same strange energy that had first bound them. She looked down, her expression unreadable. You don't understand what I am, she whispered. What you've tied yourself to, then explain it, he said. Because I'm done guessing. Lyra hesitated for a long moment before speaking. My people were created to be weapons, not by nature but by design. We were built to harness energy, to generate light powerful enough to destroy worlds. But that light burns us slowly. To survive, we bond. We share our heat, our essence, our soul, until it balances. That's what you felt when you touched me. Elias listened, his chest tight. And now that bond is killing us both? Not yet, she said softly. But the longer it lasts, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, there won't be two beings, only one. One heartbeat, one mind. The others will sense it. They'll come to take it apart. He leaned his head back against the wall, closing his eyes. So what you're saying is, either we run until they find us, or we die trying to stop it. Lyra's voice trembled slightly. There is another way. He looked at her sharply. You said there wasn't. I lied, she admitted. Because the other way requires something neither of us may survive. Try me. She rose to her feet, the faint light from her skin intensifying until it painted the tunnel walls with pale, living color. There's an old human satellite relay buried deeper in these tunnels. I sensed it when we entered. It still has power. If we reach it, I can send a false signal, one that severs my life pattern from yours and hides us both. But the process requires energy, more than I have. Elias stood, his hands tightening into fists. How much energy? All of mine, she said quietly. He stepped closer. You mean it'll kill you? She nodded. It's the only way. No, he said flatly. Find another way. She smiled faintly, the corners of her mouth trembling. You really are a stubborn creature. He grabbed her arm. I didn't come this far just to lose you. We'll figure something out. Lyra's gaze softened, her expression almost tender. You sound like you've forgotten who I am. I haven't, he said. You're the one who stopped being a weapon the moment you refused to kill innocent people. That's all I need to know. Her breath hitched. For the first time, the glow beneath her skin flickered, dimming slightly. You shouldn't say things like that, she whispered. It makes this harder. Before he could answer, the air shifted again, a low rumble shaking the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. Both of them turned toward the sound. The ships. They were closing in. They've found us, Lyra said, her voice hollow. Elias grabbed his rifle. Then we move, but she didn't follow. He turned back, panic rising. Lyra! She was standing still now, eyes glowing brighter than he'd ever seen, light pouring from her veins like liquid fire. The air vibrated around her, and a faint hum built in the tunnel, deep and powerful. What are you doing? He demanded. Saving you, she said softly. Don't, he shouted, stepping forward. Don't you dare. Her voice was almost serene. You'll live. I'll be part of you. The bond will protect you when I'm gone. Lyra. She reached out, her fingers brushing his chest. The moment they touched, everything changed. Light exploded through the tunnel, flooding his vision with white. He felt her pulse slam into him, her memories crashing through his mind. Her first flight through the stars, her laughter, the horror of war. The moment she refused her orders and was branded a traitor. Every piece of her poured into him like fire and wind and light until he couldn't breathe. When the brilliance finally faded, he was on the ground. The tunnel was silent again and she was gone. Lyra, he whispered, his voice raw, no answer. Just a faint shimmer in the air, and the echo of her heartbeat still thrumming faintly in his chest. He staggered to his feet, his body glowing faintly now, veins of gold light tracing beneath his skin. He felt stronger, warmer, alive. Outside, the rumble of engines faded, the ships withdrawing. Their senses blind, she had done it. She had given everything. He stumbled toward the tunnel's end, the rising sun casting long shadows over the ice. For a moment he thought he saw her, standing at the edge of the light, smiling faintly, her silver hair blowing in a wind that wasn't there, and then she was gone, leaving only the whisper of her last words in his mind. "You'll live. Remember me." Elias tilted his face toward the dawn. He could feel her presence still, warm, steady, a heartbeat beside his own. The bond hadn't died with her. It had changed. She wasn't gone. She was inside him now, part of his every breath, and as he took his first step back into the world, the sky above shimmered faintly, as though the stars themselves had bent to watch. He smiled, weary and unsteady, but alive, whispering into the wind, "Rest easy, Lyra, you kept your promise. You warmed my heart." And somewhere beyond the horizon, in a place where light met shadow, a faint voice answered, carried on the wind, "And you warmed mine."